Greetings, welcome to Powered by Ancestry. I'm your guide and host, Kwesi Kunadu. There's been some changes in Powered by Ancestry. In fact, you probably noticed that the last 2 weeks there have been no episodes, and there's a reason for that, which I'll explain in a moment. Greetings again, welcome to Powered by Ancestry. Now, the changes that we've been undergoing is more of an evolution, more of a maturity. From this point onward, Powered by Ancestry will now be known by Powered by Nyame. And in a moment, I'll explain that name and that change and why. And so, for those of you that have been subscribers that have joined us for a while now, we appreciate it and certainly look forward to you sticking on board and checking out what else we have to offer now and in the near future. For those either new to Powered by Ancestry or what will be now known as Powered by Nyame, welcome aboard and hope you stick around and enjoy what we have to offer. So for those of you who've been with us and noticed that we had any videos last 2 weeks, let me explain why that has been the case. By the way, I'm live at location somewhere in the world, and so I'll have more of these kinds of videos mixed in with the regular studio videos that we usually do. I figured I'll shake things up a bit. Now, why the change? First, a story. Among half of my people, the Akan people in Ghana, West Africa, there is a cosmological tale where it goes something like this. So Onyame, which is the term we use for the creator or creative force, the universe, supreme being, for some people, God force, etc. This particular force is genderless, and so it's not male, female, him or her. It is everything wrapped up into one. And so Nyame, also known as Odumankoma, Achidyampong, and so on, has this particular relationship with this old woman, which we refer to as Abrewa, literally means woman of time or with time, meaning ancient woman. And this ancient woman has children, right? And so the story goes, in short, that the two of them, Onyame and Obrewa, got into some spat or argument, and this argument essentially compelled Onyame to go off way into the sky, into the cosmos, and let that be its domain, where it was removed from all human affairs. It was distant. There was no direct connection between human beings. Whereas Abrewa, or in some cases it's Asasia, which is the earth, Mother Earth, decided to stay on Earth, and of course the children multiplied and became the world that we now have. That's a very gross and simplified version of the story, but the basic idea is this, is that both in the Akan cosmological tale, as well as in many other African-based societies, there is this idea that the creator or creative force, or the supreme being, is distant, is removed, is aloof, in other words, when it comes to direct and daily human affairs. You can find it among the Yoruba, you can find it among the Bakongo, you can find it among the Isuzulu, or other folks across the African continent and therefore in the African world. Now, this is what I've been ruminating over the last 2 weeks and why you have not seen a video. I've been ruminating about this cosmological tale. I'm going to call it cosmological fiction, because there's something in that tale that has been taken literally and has been taken also for granted, both within the scholarship on African spiritual culture and within the practices of people who adhere to African indigenous spiritual culture. And by that I mean this. You see, among the Akan folks, there are these spiritual forces referred to as Abusum. For those of you familiar with my writings, you'll know what these are, or from other folks. These spiritual forces are deemed to be the children of Onyame. They're deemed to be the extensions of Onyame. And so, in many ways, they are simply branches off of this magnificent, broad, and cosmic tree referred to as Onyame. And so they are seen to be the agents, meaning the same way you would not walk into a corporate office and see the CEO, you have to go through the managers first, or some of the foot soldiers, clerical workers. Likewise, the Abusum are these managers, these mid-level managers you have to go through before you get to the CEO. And among the Akan people, like other African societies, you have these notions of indirection, whereby you don't approach individuals in positions of power and authority directly. You go through an agent or intermediary. The Abusum are these intermediaries. The same is true for the ancestors, that they're intermediaries between us in the physical human form and, of course, the spiritual beings, including the Abusum that lie on the other side or layer of this physical human world. And so that has been the case and that has been the practice. And it's both true on the African continent as well as in African-based spiritual cultures in the Americas. So whether it's Lukumi or Panamayombe or it's Obia or Vudum or it is Candomblé in Brazil, whatever the formation for these African spiritual cultures, the packaging of them in the Americas and an African continent, they share this feature whereby Nyame, or the creative force, is distant and far. This is what I'm suggesting, and this is what I'm arguing, and this is why the change in what was then called power by ancestry, now called power by Nyame. What I've come to discover is that there needs to be more of a direct relationship, not an arrogant one, but a direct, intimate relationship with the creator and creative force. Now, why? This is how I came to this particular understanding and the change in power by ancestry, which is now power by Nyame. I had a conversation with Onyames on at least 2 occasions, and so I know the spirit, because it's a spiritual force, it's a cosmic force, but it's still a force, it's energy. And so I had a conversation with Onyame at least 2 occasions, and so I know that it's not only real, but it's tangible, and that connection in this conversation with Nyame, he made it very clear to me that the cosmological tales that I've inherited and in many ways I have held on to has been misleading. And they've been misleading because we all have a direct connection with our Creator. You see, our creative force, whatever you want to call it, lives within our soul, our heart. But not the thing that pumps in blood and it beats, every so often, nanoseconds wise. But it is the seat of the soul. And the ancient people in Kemet or ancient Egypt had this notion of the Ka and the Ba, right? The idea of the soul and the heart. And that eventually when you leave this human world, when your number is called, you have a scale that weighs, essentially your soul, right? Your heart, right? And so the idea that the soul, it rests, where the heart is, not the physical heart, but the thing that is not seen, but that's representative. The same reason why we may feel something deeply in terms of hurt or pain, it hurts our heart because it hurts our soul. And so when I say soul, I mean your heart. When I say heart, I don't mean the organ, I mean the soul. And so Onyame lives within our soul. It is always present, always with us, right? Literally. And so when that heart stops, literally, Onyame doesn't go away, but our soul goes with Onyame, right? To the village, as they say, to the other side. And so powered by Nyame means that everything that we do here on Powered by Nyame will be informed of this notion that this bigger and broader and cosmic force that should have a direct role, direct connection in our life, a direct interface, is what is going to drive Powered by Nyame from now on. Ancestors still would be very important because they do have a place, but there's a hierarchy of beings and power. For those of you that have been with us for a number of episodes know that this architecture of beings, spiritual beings, has already been laid out in previous videos. And so now I want to extend that hierarchy and say that Powered by Nyame is the pinnacle of that pyramid, or is the apex of that hierarchy, and we want to have a direct connection with Onyame as we do with our ancestors, because all of these forces play an intimate role in our human experience. In fact, what I've learned in my conversation with Nyame is that those of us that come here to have a human experience are actually chosen for this blessing. In other words, not all spirits return or come to this earth to have a human experience. So those of us that are here, we have a blessing. Now, it doesn't mean that the journey while we're here is easy, or the journey, because we're blessed to be here, is without struggle. In fact, it's quite the opposite. And I've talked about this in previous videos where ever wonder why, you ask yourself, why me? Of course it's you. Whatever you're going through in life is precisely because those are the things that keep you on your path. Those are the things that are steering you towards your destiny. And so some of us do not realize our destiny, do not realize our mission and our purpose in this lifetime. And those choices lay with us. And so when it's time for us to go home, our number is called, and we come before Nyame, we come before our ancestors, this one question will be asked of us. What did you learn? What did you learn? And if your answer does not match with the record that they have, because Nyame already knows, the ancestors already know, right? And so it's the honesty from your soul that will communicate. And if you didn't learn what you're supposed to, if you didn't learn anything, if you gathered degrees, if you gathered cars and houses and women and men and those kinds of things, then there's a consequence for that. I won't tell you more because that's for you to experience. But I will tell you up until that point that the connection, with Nyame is precisely what we want to raise the bar and include that with our continuous work with the spiritual forces that may ride with you in your lineage, with the ancestors that are in your lineage. And I have more to say later on what I've discovered about that layer of ancestry that fit within the hierarchy based upon my conversations with Nyame and based upon my conversations with my ancestry, my folks. But for now, I want to announce to you all the change, why the change, in the name, in the structure. And as we move forward, we'll continue to build and hope you continue to stay with us. And for those of you that are new, stick around, more to come. For Powered by Ancestry, I've been your guide and host, Kwesi Kunadu. Stay well.